Imagine this. You're just 18 years old. You've never flown anything bigger than a flight simulator in your dad's garage. You're sitting on a passenger jet halfway across the Pacific thinking about your vacation. And in the next hour, 300 lives are about to depend on you. Because at 35,000 feet, everyone who was supposed to fly this plane is gone. This is the story of Ava Thompson, an ordinary teenager who did something no one thought possible. A story of chaos, courage, and one of the most extraordinary landings in aviation history. It started as a normal Thursday morning. Skyjet Flight 329 from Los Angeles to Tokyo, a 13-hour flight across the ocean on a calm, clear day. Passengers boarded, smiling, tired, coffee in hand. Families, business travelers, tourists. And somewhere in the middle rows sat Ava, shy, quiet, 18, wearing headphones and clutching a travel pillow. She'd just graduated high school. Her mom had hugged her goodbye at the gate, teary-eyed, reminding her to text when she landed. Ava was flying to Tokyo to visit her dad, a retired Air Force mechanic who'd moved there for work. He was the one who'd given her her love for airplanes. When she was little, he used to sit her in front of a flight simulator and show her how to take off, how to turn, how to land. She'd spent hours in that simulator, dreaming of flying someday. But never, not in her wildest dreams, did she imagine she'd have to fly for real. The plane took off smoothly. The engines roared, the ground fell away, and soon the endless blue of the Pacific stretched beneath them. The passengers settled in, food trays clinked, movies played. Everything was perfect. 2 hours later, at cruising altitude, the flight deck was calm. The captain, William Mitchell, and his first officer, Carlos Rivera, chatted about the weather ahead. Nothing unusual. A few clouds over the ocean, light turbulence. But then, an alarm. A soft beep. Something about oxygen pressure. Rivera leaned forward, frowning. "Captain, I'm seeing a fluctuation on engine 2. Mitchell glanced over. Probably a faulty sensor. Let's keep an eye on it. Seconds later, another alarm. Then another. And then, the one no pilot ever wants to hear. Cabin pressure failure. Oxygen masks dropped from the ceiling. The passengers screamed, startled. Mitchell's voice came over the intercom, calm but urgent. "Masks on, everyone. We're making an emergency descent." In the cockpit chaos, Rivera was reaching for the oxygen supply when he coughed suddenly. "Captain, I don't feel right." Mitchell turned and saw Rivera's face turning pale. Then his own vision blurred. Within seconds, both men slumped forward. The cockpit fell silent except for the wail of alarms. Inside the cabin, no one knew what was happening. People clutched their masks. Mothers held crying children. Flight attendants tried to calm them, yelling over the noise. "Stay seated. Keep your masks on." The plane jolted. Passengers gasped as the lights flickered. One of them, Ava, looked toward the front of the cabin and saw the cockpit door. It was wide open, and what she saw through it made her blood run cold. The two pilots, motionless. She pointed, shouting through her mask. "The pilots! They're not moving." A flight attendant, Maria, rushed forward, eyes wide with disbelief. She checked the door, saw the same thing, and froze. "Oh my God." People began to scream. Someone shouted, "Is there a pilot on board?" "Anyone?" No one answered. There were 300 people on that plane, and not one qualified pilot conscious to fly it. Ava's mind raced. Years of simulator practice. All those hours with her dad. She knew, roughly, what everything in that cockpit did. She had no choice. Trembling, she pulled off her mask and stepped forward. "Let me try." Maria looked at her, shocked. "You? Are you a pilot?" "No," Ava said, her voice shaking. but I know how this works." She pushed through the door, heart pounding. The sound inside the cockpit was deafening. Alarms, wind, warning voices repeating automated messages. She slid into the captain's seat, her hands trembling as she scanned the panels. Everything looked familiar, yet terrifyingly real. "Okay," she whispered to herself. "You've seen this before. Just breathe." She grabbed the intercom headset. "Mayday, Mayday. This is Skyjet 329. Both pilots are down. We need help." Static, no response. She tried again, louder this time. "Mayday, please, someone, help us." At 35,000 feet over the middle of the Pacific, radio contact was patchy. For a terrifying minute, there was only static. Then, a faint voice. "Skyjet 329, this is Honolulu Center. Repeat your message." Ava nearly sobbed in relief. "Both pilots are unconscious." "I'm not a pilot." "The plane's, it's falling." "Copy that, 329, the controller said, calm but alert. "We hear you. Stay calm. What's your altitude?" Ava glanced around, trying to find the right gauge. "UH the altimeter, right?" "It says 29,000 feet. We're dropping." "Okay," the controller replied. "We're going to help you fly that plane." And just like that, the life of every single soul on board depended on her dot back in Honolulu. The control tower scrambled to find someone who could guide her. They called in Tom Jacobs, a veteran flight instructor with 30 years of experience. He grabbed a headset, his heart racing. "This is Tom Jacobs," he said into the mic. "Ava, can you hear me?" Her voice crackled through. "Yes, I can hear you." "Good, you're doing great. First, I need you to put both hands on the yoke. That's the control in front of you, and gently pull back. Not too hard. We're going to level out the plane." "It's heavy," she said, struggling. "It's not moving." "That's okay. Just small movements. Steady. Keep an eye on the horizon line. See that little screen? Keep it straight. You're doing it." The plane's violent drop began to slow. The screams in the cabin grew quieter. For the first time in 10 minutes, Skyjet 329 was no longer falling. Tom's voice stayed calm. "Good. Now check your throttle. 2 levers near your right hand. Don't touch them yet, just tell me what position they're in." She described what she saw. He guided her step by step, patient, clear. The controllers coordinated with nearby military radar to track the flight. The world below had no idea what was unfolding above them, an 18-year-old girl, alone in a cockpit, flying a passenger jet. Then, another alarm. The sound was different this time, lower, slower. "What now?" she asked, voice trembling. "Hydraulic pressure," Tom said after listening. "Looks like you've got an issue with engine 2. Don't panic. Pull the right throttle lever back a little. That's it. Easy." The plane shuddered, then steadied again. Tears ran down her cheeks. "I can't do this. I'm just a kid." "Hey," Tom said gently. "You've already saved 300 people. You can do this. You're not alone." Her breathing slowed. She wiped her eyes. "Okay, what's next?" For the next 20 minutes, Tom and the team talked her through everything, monitoring altitude, adjusting heading, keeping the wings level. But as they began to stabilize, another problem appeared. Fuel imbalance detected. The system voice announced. Tom's heart sank. "Ava, you're losing fuel. You've got maybe an hour and a half of flight time left." "That's not enough to reach Tokyo," she said quietly. "No," he replied. "We're diverting you to Honolulu. That's your only chance." Outside, the sun was setting. The ocean below was black and endless. Clouds were building in the distance, a storm. Ava took a deep breath. "Okay, Honolulu. That's it. Turn slightly right, heading 0-8-5. Good. You're doing great. As she turned, lightning flashed far ahead. Thunder rolled across the sky. The passengers in the cabin had grown eerily silent. Some prayed. Some cried. Flight attendant Maria moved down the aisle, whispering reassurances she didn't believe. In the cockpit, Ava stared into the darkness. "Tom, I can't see anything." "Don't look outside," he said. "Trust your instruments." "That's what real pilots do." The plane jolted violently. "We're spinning!" She screamed. "Left rudder now." Tom shouted. She slammed her foot on the pedal. The plane wobbled, then steadied. Tom exhaled. "You just recovered from a death spiral. You have no idea how few people could have done that." Lightning flashed again, illuminating the cockpit for a split second. She could see her reflection in the glass, eyes wide, hair plastered to her face, but alive. For a moment, she thought about her dad. She could almost hear his voice, the one that used to guide her during their flight sessions at home. "Remember, Ava," he'd said once, "planes don't crash because people get scared. They crash because people stop thinking. No matter what happens, keep thinking. Keep flying," she whispered to herself. "Think, breathe, fly." Her hands steadied. She corrected her altitude. She followed Tom's voice, step by step, across the darkness. After a while, the storm began to fade. The sky cleared just enough for the moonlight to break through. The sea below shimmered faintly. Tom came over the radio again. "Ava, radar shows you're clear of the storm. You're doing beautifully." She let out a shaky laugh. "I can't believe this is happening." "I know," he said softly, "but you're going to make it." In the cabin, Maria made an announcement. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're currently being guided toward Honolulu for an emergency landing. Please remain calm and seated. The situation is under control." Her voice cracked slightly on the last words, but no one noticed. Ava looked ahead. "Tom, how far am I from Honolulu?" "About 400 miles, he said. "Roughly an hour of flight time." "You're right on track." "Okay," she whispered. "I can do this." Silence filled the cockpit except for the hum of the engines. The panic, the noise, the alarms, all had faded into a strange, fragile calm. She could feel the weight of the yoke, the vibration through her hands. She was flying. Then the radio crackled again. "Skyjet 329, Honolulu radar confirms your position. You're now on emergency approach vector. Keep altitude at 15,000 feet. "Copy that," she said, her voice steadier now. Tom smiled to himself on the other end of the line. She sounded like a real pilot. Outside, the first lights of Hawaii were still far beyond the horizon. The passengers didn't know it yet, but their fate was in the hands of a girl who hadn't even started college. In the darkness of the cockpit, Ava glanced once more at the empty seats beside her, the unconscious pilots, the flashing instruments, the endless ocean below, and whispered, "Hang on, everyone. I'm bringing us home." But she didn't know that the hardest part, landing that massive jet, with hundreds of lives depending on her, was still ahead. And what happened next would become one of the most unbelievable moments in modern aviation history. The radio crackled softly as Ava stared into the night sky. The storm had faded behind her, leaving a long stretch of quiet, empty darkness. The passengers were calm now, though none of them truly understood what was happening. Only the distant hum of engines filled the silence. "Honolulu Center to Skyjet 329. You are now 1 hour from approach. How are you holding up, Ava?" Her voice came through the radio, soft but steady. "I'm okay. Still here." Tom Jacobs, the veteran instructor guiding her from the ground, smiled faintly. "You're doing incredible. You've got this." but Ava's hands were still trembling slightly. She'd been holding the controls for nearly 2 hours now, her back stiff, her eyes burning from the strain. Every light on the instrument panel seemed to flash in a different rhythm, demanding attention. She was exhausted. Yet she couldn't afford to lose focus, not now. Below them, the endless black of the Pacific stretched out in every direction. If she made even one mistake, there would be no second chances. "Tom," she asked quietly, "how do I land something this big?" He paused before answering. "We'll take it step by step. You've already done the hardest part, keeping it in the air. Now we just need to bring it down gently." "Gently," she repeated, half smiling. "Right." As they approached Hawaiian airspace, the radar controllers cleared all nearby traffic. Emergency crews rushed into position on the runway. Fire trucks lined the tarmac. Ambulances waited. News outlets were already catching wind of the story. An 18-year-old girl flying a passenger jet alone. Ava didn't know any of that. She was too focused on the glowing numbers in front of her, the sound of the engines, the feel of the controls. "Okay, Ava," Tom's calm voice said. "We're going to start descending to 10,000 feet. Slowly pull back the throttle just a bit. Yes, that's good. Now watch your vertical speed. Keep it steady." The plane began its slow descent. The passengers felt the drop and looked around nervously. Maria, the head flight attendant, held the intercom mic in trembling hands. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're beginning our approach to Honolulu. Please make sure your seat belts are fastened. We'll be landing shortly." A murmur spread through the cabin, quiet prayers, soft sobs, the rustle of hands gripping armrests. In the cockpit, Ava swallowed hard. "I can see lights ahead," she said. "It looks like a city." "That's Honolulu," Tom replied. "You're almost home." A lump rose in her throat. She blinked back tears. "I'm not home yet." "Not yet," he agreed gently. "Let's get you there." The closer they came, the more the reality of what she was doing hit her. The enormity of the plane. The weight of 300 souls sitting behind her, trusting her completely. Her heart pounded, but her focus stayed razor sharp. "Okay, Ava, listen carefully," Tom said. "I'm going to talk you through the landing sequence. First, you're going to lower the flaps. That'll slow you down. You'll see a lever marked flaps. Pull it one notch." She found it and did as instructed. The plane shook slightly as the flaps extended. Perfect. Now start bringing your speed down to 160 knots. Pull the throttles back gently. "Speed reducing," she said, her voice steady. "Good. When you're ready, lower the landing gear." She reached for the gear lever. The loud thunk of the wheels extending echoed through the cockpit. For a moment, the sound filled her with hope. It felt like progress, like they were really going to make it. Then a warning light blinked on the panel. "Ah, Tom," she said quickly, "one of the landing gear lights is red. Only 2 are green." He hesitated. "Okay, that means one gear didn't lock into position. It might be a sensor issue, but it could also be stuck." Her heart sank. "So, what do I do?" "We'll assume it's locked and prepare for a slightly rough landing," he said. "Don't panic. Keep your approach steady. Emergency crews are standing by." Ava nodded, though he couldn't see her. "Okay, I'm ready." The runway lights were visible now, long, glowing stripes against the black ocean. It looked close, but it was still miles away. The sight made her chest tighten. Tom's voice was calm but firm. "Ava, you're cleared to land on runway 8 right. You're perfectly aligned. Keep your nose down just a little. Good, that's it. Speed 150, she said. Perfect. Don't fight it, just guide it. Let the plane come to you." In the cabin, Maria clutched the jump seat, whispering a prayer. The passengers sat frozen. Some cried quietly. Others just stared straight ahead. The runway loomed closer. The lights reflected in Ava's eyes. Her breathing grew shallow. "Tom," she whispered, "I'm scared." "I know," he said softly, "but you've already done the impossible. Now just finish it." The altimeter ticked down to 500 feet. 300. 200. "Ease back on the throttle," Tom said. "Now gently pull the nose up." The ground rushed toward them. The wheels screamed as they hit the runway, once then again. The plane bounced slightly. Ava gritted her teeth and held the yoke steady. "Keep it straight," Tom urged. "Don't overcorrect." She pushed the brakes. The engines roared as she deployed the reverse thrusters. The jet rattled violently, slowing, until finally, after what felt like forever, it stopped. Silence. For a second, no one moved. Then the cabin erupted in cheers and sobs. Passengers hugged each other. Some fell to their knees. Maria burst into tears. Ava sat there, frozen, staring at the controls, her hands still gripping the yoke. Her whole body trembled. Then Tom's voice came through the headset, soft and full of pride. "You did it, Ava. You landed a passenger jet. You saved every single person on that plane." Her breath hitched. Are we really down?" "You're down," he said. "You did it." Tears streamed down her face. She looked out the window and saw flashing lights, fire trucks, ambulances, rescue crews rushing toward them. Maria opened the cockpit door. "Ava," she whispered, her voice breaking, "you saved us." Ava turned slowly, exhausted, overwhelmed. The passengers could see her now, a tiny girl in an oversized pilot's seat, trembling, her face streaked with tears. And then, like a wave, the entire cabin began to applaud. Firefighters climbed aboard moments later, checking on the pilots, helping passengers off. The captain and first officer were alive. Both had been knocked unconscious by oxygen deprivation, but they would recover. When the medical team told Ava that, she finally allowed herself to breathe again. Hours later, after everyone was safe, Ava sat alone on the steps near the runway, wrapped in a blanket. The morning sun was rising over the ocean, painting the clouds gold. Reporters were already gathering behind barricades. Helicopters circling overhead. Tom Jacobs walked up quietly and sat beside her. He'd flown in from the tower the moment she landed. "You did something tonight no one in your position should have been able to do," he said softly. "You kept your head. You saved 300 lives." She stared at the horizon. "I was so scared." "That's what makes it brave," he said. "Being scared and doing it anyway." For a long moment, they sat in silence. Then she asked, "Did my dad know what was happening?" Tom smiled. "He knows now. He's on his way." When her father arrived hours later, he ran across the tarmac and pulled her into his arms. Neither of them said anything for a while. Just tears, relief, and the unspoken truth that they both knew her years of listening, learning, and dreaming had saved lives. In the days that followed, the story spread across the world. Headlines called her the Miracle Girl pilot. News anchors replayed the landing footage over and over. Aviation experts analyzed the flight data and couldn't believe it, how a teenager, with no formal training, had managed to control and safely land a massive jetliner with failing systems. Investigators later confirmed that a chemical leak in the ventilation system had released fumes into the cockpit, causing the pilots to lose consciousness. Had Ava not taken control, the plane would have crashed into the Pacific within 20 minutes. When journalists asked how she'd done it, she just shook her head. "I didn't think," she said. "I just remembered what my dad taught me. Think, breathe, fly." The airline offered her a scholarship to flight school. The FAA honored her with a Civilian Bravery Medal. Pilots from around the world sent letters calling her an inspiration. But to Ava, it wasn't about medals or fame. It was about the faces of those passengers, the mothers holding their children, the families reuniting at the terminal, the strangers who had hugged her and said thank you. Months later, she visited Honolulu again. This time, not as a passenger, but as a student pilot in training. She walked through the same runway where her nightmare had ended and smiled. The sound of planes taking off filled the air, not frightening anymore, but familiar. Comforting Dot when a journalist asked her what she'd learned from that night. She thought for a moment, then said, "People think courage means not being afraid. But that night I was terrified every second. Courage is being scared, but doing what has to be done anyway." Her father stood nearby, smiling proudly. "That's my girl," he said softly, Dot, and somewhere deep down. Ava knew that she hadn't just saved 300 lives. She'd found her purpose, Dot, because in that moment, when the world fell apart 35,000 feet above the ocean, an 8-year-old girl didn't give up. She thought. She breathed. She flew, and 300 people lived to tell the story.